All right. I believe all of you can see the slides now. So, when it comes to PT Academic, remember that overall you have three sections. Of course, remember it's an English language exam, so you will be judged for your speaking, writing, listening, and reading. But the way you can say that it's designed PT is that speaking and writing are combined into one section, and then you get separate sections for reading and listening. Okay, and also remember this thing, you should know about this, that you have an optional break of 10 minutes after you are done with your speaking and writing and reading section. Okay, so optional means it's up to you whether or not you want to take it. All right, now today's two topics are like one of them is a part of speaking and writing section, and the other one is a part of reading section. Okay, so I will touch briefly those. So this is the very first section of your exam, speaking and writing section. Okay, and today we are covering this topic out of this section. Summarize written text. Okay, now an important thing over here is, in case any of you don't know, have a look at the name of the very first topic. What is the name? Read aloud. Where it is giving you marks, reading and speaking. Okay, now two things to actually you can say remember from this particular table and what I'm trying to show you. Firstly, if you see the topic is one, but it is contributing towards two communication skills, not just one. All right, so this is a little different from other English language tests that some of you might have taken before. Let's just say if you consider IELTS. So in IELTS, if you're sitting for your reading exam, whatever questions you will do, they will only contribute towards your reading score, not towards writing or any other communication skill. But things work a little bit differently over here. Okay. The first thing is that, and then the second thing is have a look at the name of this section. What is it called? Speaking and writing section. Okay. But the very first topic is also giving you marks for reading. And then you have got a topic that is giving you marks for listening as well. Okay, so this is like you can say one of the few things you need to know about PTE that's a little bit different from other language tests. Okay, that firstly, one task can easily give you mark for more than one communication skill. All right, and then the other thing being is you might be doing speaking and writing section, but you might be getting marks from some topics towards your reading and towards your listening. Do remember that. Okay, now I will get to this topic in detail, summarize written text, and then we'll cover other things. All right. Now, just a little bit of an overview of your reading section. So this is the second section of your exam known as reading section. Okay. And out of this section today, we will be covering reorder paragraphs. All right. Just one thing to remember over here is that in this section, you are the one who will be managing the time. Okay, the time will be overall for the complete section. So for each and every question over here, you have to manage the time by yourself. Okay, at this point, just remember this. When I will touch this topic in detail, then I will tell you how much time to give to each question. Okay, all right. Any questions so far or any confusions? All good. So let's start off with summarized written text in detail, and then we will get to reorder paragraph later. All right. All right. So summarize written text. Now, as I just showed you right now, that this particular topic is a part of your speaking and writing section. Okay. And where does it gives you marks? If you have a look over here at the extreme right column, it gives you marks towards reading and it also contributes towards your writing score. Okay, and you can have 2 or 3 questions for summarize written text. All right, now an important slide. In this one, I am actually showing you a priority order for writing. Okay, now what does priority order basically means? That all these topics that are actually listed in this slide, they are your writing tasks. They give you marks towards your writing. Okay, and they are listed in order of their importance basically. Okay, so basically meaning going from the most important topic towards least important. All right, so I can say that write from dictation is the most important one for writing, and least important for writing would be listening fill in the blanks. Okay, and summarized written text more or less falls at number 4 with 14% weightage. Okay, so not a super important topic, but not like you can say very least important as well. And at times, if let's just say you get 3 questions, then it can have more weightage as well. Okay, now it also gives you marks towards your reading, and for reading you can say more or less its weightage would be around 12%. Okay, so what did we discuss so far? Firstly, summarize written text. Where will you get this topic? You will get it in your speaking and writing section. Okay, and how many questions you can get? You can either have 2 or you can have 3 questions. Where does this topic gives you marks? It gives you marks towards your writing, and it gives you marks towards your reading as well. Remember this. All right, now let's have a look that what this topic is all about. What do I have to do over here, and how I can do it better to get a good score. All right, so have a look at this one. If you want, you can take a picture of this. This is how your summarized written text questions will look like in actual exam. Okay, now if you pay attention in here, what does the statement at the top says? Read the passage below and summarize it using one sentence. Type your response in the box at the bottom of the screen. So basically in here, you have 10 minutes to finish this task. And then it tells you that your answer will be judged on the quality of your writing and on how well your response presents the key points. Okay, so basically what you are doing is you will be given a passage. Okay, now what you have to do is you have to basically summarize that passage. Okay, you will type your summary over here in this text box. All right, now a very important thing to remember is it says in the very first line, summarize it using one sentence. That's super important to remember. Okay, and I'll show you in the next slide in a minute that luckily what does one sentence means for the computer. All right, and also remember you will have 10 minutes. Yes, a question. Okay, so it won't be like that you have 3 questions or 30 minutes. It's not like that. It will be 10 individual minutes for each question. All right, so let's just say if you are unable to finish one question in 10 minutes time because maybe it was lengthy or it was difficult, then whatever you have written in this text box, it will automatically get submitted and you'll be marked based on that. Okay, now let's put some of these things in bullet points. So as I told you, you will have a passage on screen. Now the word limit varies, but maximum at times it can go up to like 300 or 400 words as well. All right, you have to summarize as I just said. Now do remember this word limit as well. You have to summarize in 5 to 75 words. You cannot exceed the word limit. Okay, if you exceed it, you will lose a lot of marks. That I will show you in the next slide a little bit. Okay, now luckily one sentence for the computer means one full stop. All right, so we will put just one full stop at the end of our summary, of course, and we will use commas to join different sentences. That I will show you later. Okay, and this thing I already told you, you have 10 minutes and you get the marks for reading and writing from this topic. Okay, a bit discussion about your marking criteria. So for this topic, you can say you will be marked on the basis of these 4 criteria. Okay, you have got your content, form, grammar, and then vocabulary. Okay, now firstly, remember about form. I have written it over there as well. It is dependent on firstly your word limit. Okay, and then also on the fact that you just put one full stop. Okay, and of course, if you don't take care of that, what will happen? This will go to 0. All right, now the reason I'm showing you this is there is a very interesting thing in the way computer marks you, and that is it marks these criterias in a sequence basically. So it will start from content, then form, then grammar, then vocabulary. Okay, so let's just say you wrote an excellent summary, but somehow you got to 76 words. Okay, now what will happen? For content you will get 2 marks, but all the other will go to what? 0. Okay, so just because you exceeded the word limit, you will lose all the other marks. We will talk about content, and that also relates to your vocabulary as well. Okay, so vocabulary, you can say on a very basic, on a general level, you can say are just words. All right, but herein in this topic, you can say But herein for this topic, you can say you have to use the words in your passage that are telling you about the key points to get a mark for vocabulary. Okay, vocabulary in this topic is not based on coming up with fancy words or fancy things on your own. It's not based on that. Okay, it's based on using relevant words that are telling you about the key points of passage. Okay, now let's move on to the next slide. So about the content in here. Firstly, make sure that you get the main idea, or you can say the topic of your passage right. Okay, and in the next slide we will cover this in detail. If you get this thing right, then it makes your life a whole lot easier to then extract your supporting points or key points. Okay, and when you will practice, you will realize that at times you can say the difficulty level of the passage will be characterized by this, that how quickly you can find out as in what is the thing they are talking about there. All right, so supporting points, as I was just saying, or you can say key points as well, like the information we can find more about our main idea or topic. Okay, but you have to remember one thing: the information, the points, whatever the things you will include, you have to remember that you are doing a summary. It's even the title of the topic as well, summarize. Okay, so whenever you summarize something, you won't include every possible thing you can find. Okay, you will try to make sure that you basically include the, you can say, gist of it. Or another way of telling it would be that you will include some basic level information, some main facts, and if you find any explanations, examples, or at times even way too detailed history of things, we won't include it in our summary. Okay, and that is one of the other things, of course, you guys will be practicing when you will do different questions. I will of course show you with different passages in here based on the time we have, like how you can take care of certain things, but this is one of the other practices you guys need to get. Okay, and the last thing in here, though it is not always common, conclusion, if it is available at the end of your passage, so do include that in your summary. Okay, now write this down. Yeah, depends on the passage, but yeah, mostly you can say it will be either half a sentence or at times maybe one complete sentence. That's the thing. You don't need to come up with, like, you can say conclusion on your own. Just like if you can find that in any way they summarized it in the passage, so just include that. Okay, so guys, write this down, and if any questions, please ask, and then we'll move on. Actually, how to actually identify these points, how to extract content. Okay, now firstly, guys, I want you to remember this thing, and I want you to keep in mind, let's just say you have got 300 words in your passage. What's the time I have? 10 minutes. Okay, now in this 10 minutes you have to do everything. Okay, you have to read the passage, you have to get your key points, topic, and everything, and then you have to write and make a good summary as well. Okay, you have to type everything in there, you cannot copy paste anything. Okay, in the exam screen slide, if you over there you might have seen the copy and paste buttons. They only work inside the text box. Like inside the box, if you want to take everything from one point and paste somewhere else, that you can do. You cannot copy from the passage into the text box, you have to type everything. Okay, so you have to manage everything in 10 minutes time. So if you are reading the entire passage right away, at times it can take a whole lot of time. It can, like, at times confuse you as well. Okay, so what we will do is basically we will actually try to read the first 3 or 4 lines of our very first paragraph and last 3 or 4 lines of last paragraph. Okay, in case it has multiple paragraphs. All right, which will be the case most. And our target in here is to get the main idea or topic from here. Now, how can we do that effectively? Yeah. Mhm. Yes. Yes, that's it. Okay. So what we will do is basically, mostly I will say the beginning, like the first 3 or 4 lines of your passage will give you a few things that can tell you what the topic is. All right. And what are some of the things you can do to get it in the shortest possible time? I will say have a look at some of the longer words or some of the phrases as well, mostly that you can find in your very first 3 to 4 lines. Okay, now firstly, by longer words, I mean words that have more number of characters basically. Okay, like if I ask you which word is longer, is summarize longer or is text longer? Summarize. Okay, because it has, I believe, uh, I think 9 characters. Okay, whereas text just has 4 characters. Okay, and the other thing being phrases. Some of you might know this. What do we call as phrases? Phrases. Sorry. Group of words can be a sentence as well. Okay. Which makes sense. No, that is a sentence actually. Okay. When you say a group of words that makes a complete sense on its own, that's a sentence. Okay. When you say just a group of words that can be used with each other, complement each other, that is what you call as a phrase basically. Okay, as in summarize written text, these are just 3 words, it's not a complete sentence. Okay, I can call this one as a phrase. Okay, if it was like a whole if it was something like, summarize written text contributes towards the writing and reading score, then that whole thing is a sentence. Okay, and then other things come as well, subject, verb, object, that we will discuss later. Okay, but remember this, phrases are just your group of words, at times maybe just 2, or at times it can be 3 or 4 words as well, that are used with each other to give any particular meaning. Okay, so just if I take the word summarize, that is of course a word, but if I take summarize written text, that will be a phrase. Okay, so what I'm saying is have a look at the longer words or phrases at the very beginning, at the very start of your passage, See whatever you can find in there, and then try to see that out of these longer words or phrases, what is, like, the thing that the discussion is focused around, what is being maybe somehow emphasized the most, or in some cases maybe repeated the most. Okay, as in what is the thing they're constantly talking about. That will be in most of the cases your main idea or topic. Okay, now once you have gotten this thing correctly, then your life becomes a bit easier, because now you know what is being focused, what is being discussed throughout your passage. Okay, now we have to, you can say, start picking the things that we can write, that we can basically put in our summary. Okay, now what is the first thing we will extract? As I wrote over here, topic sentence. Okay, so by topic sentence in here, I mean that the sentence that is mentioning, or you can say introducing your topic for the very first time. Okay, like throughout my passage, you can say whatever sentence mentions my topic for the very first time, I will include that as my topic sentence. Okay, and now I will start reading my entire passage. And now what I'm gonna do, I will pick sentences now, and I will also pick phrases now as well, that are telling me more about my topic. Okay, but as I said earlier, only basic information, only, like, key points or facts, you can say, not any explanations or details or history whatsoever. All right, now we will discuss different questions as well, but you guys can remember one thing in here. If sentences tell you about what and why of things, you can say, you will include them. Okay, but if sentences tell you about how of things, that will be categorized as an explanation or example, so no need to include that. Okay, and also last point in here, quite simple but important, you will have multiple paragraphs in most cases. So when that is the case, try to pick content, like information, from each and every paragraph. It will be better. Okay, now guys, go through these points in detail. If you want, you can write them down or you can take a picture, and then we will discuss a passage together, and we will use these rules and we will see how they apply. Okay guys, firstly, the people who are online, any questions from you guys, anything that was not clear?
Clear.
Everything clear? Any questions, anything that is not making sense, you can ask before we like start an example. Okay, any questions from you guys before we start a question? Okay, so let's have a look at this passage together now. Let me copy paste it in Word. I'll do that over there, it would be easier. Simple way to connect actually different sentences with each other is we can use something known as discourse markers or connectors. Okay, and the way we will do it is, I will show you in the example as well. We were doing that, let's just say we got our one line in here. Okay, and then we have got a second line here. So immediately after the line, I'll put a comma, I will give one normal space, and then I will put, you can say, any of these discourse markers, depending on what sort of information they contain. Okay, If let's just say they are talking about more or less same things, or you can say maybe the tone of information is the same. All right, tone of information, I mean basically, like let's just say they were talking about, like, the benefits of any particular thing. The first sentence was about that, second sentence is about it as well. So they are more or less similar idea. Okay, I can use words like moreover, furthermore, likewise, or additionally as well, or you can use in addition as well. Okay, but let's just say the first one was about benefits, and now the second one is about harmful effects or maybe about disadvantages. So now they become, you can say, more or less contrasting. Okay, then you can use any of these words as in like however, although, or any, or like meanwhile, or on the other hand. Okay, and whenever you are stating your conclusion, I will say for the last line, it's always a better idea to use any of these, like thus, so, hence, finally, or therefore. Okay, now a couple of things to remember. After the line, we can either put a semicolon or we can put a comma. Both are okay. All right, but after the discourse marker, like after moreover, furthermore, or any of these words, always put a comma. All right, always put a comma after these linking words, not a semicolon, because that will be wrong if you put a semicolon after a discourse mark. Okay, now you guys can write it down and take a picture, and then we will use these things in our summary that we were just discussing.
So why do we use semicolon?
Semicolon you use after your sentence if you want to. Like in here, if you see there is a comma,
Yeah,
but you can also use a semicolon. Both are okay.
both are okay. Right?
Yes, both are okay.
So it doesn't.
Not necessary. It doesn't matter. But after the discourse marker, always comma.